Hello, I'm Igor Cavalera from Cavalera Conspiracy and MixHell, and you're watching Toasted.
I got a double interview today. With you, we're going to talk about Cavalera Conspiracy. With Max, it's in the new Soulfly album already.
Cool.
Yeah? Alright, well, welcome Igor. The first question is always the easiest one. Can you please introduce yourself?
My name is Igor Cavalera. I play drums for Cavalera Conspiracy and also MixHell. Those are the two projects I have in my life today.
Yeah, because your life is also, your musical life is also something that has always has been on the run for, well, 20 years right now already, I think.
Something like that.
Even more than that, I think. Yeah. But then somewhere, we're not going to talk about those 20 years, but somewhere on the road you met your brother again. And I think the question has been asked about 350 times already the last half year. But we didn't, so can you please tell the story about the Max Cavalera or the Cavalera Conspiracy?
Well, actually, I was already just doing my other project. And I decided by a big influence of my wife to get established with Max, our friendship again. That was the first contact we ever had after all those years. And after we were really strong as friends again, then he called me up and he was like, you want to make an album together? And of course I was really happy to hear from him musically. So we just flew to Los Angeles and did the album. Like, never practiced. It was very different than anything I'd done in the past or Max has done in the past. So it's a totally new way of new format of a band, Cavalera Conspiracy, and that's what makes it for me more special, because it's not just like a project, a one album project, but it's also not a band that me and him are committed to it 24 hours. We're here, we're doing, like, you know, of course we focus, but at one point we know we're gonna go away and do other stuff. So I think that's what keeps Cavalera so special.
And the great thing is that, in a way, you guys seem to get it together so fast. Because if you manage to fly over to Los Angeles and record an album that fast, it's like almost unbelievable.
And now if I think about it, it could be a complete disaster, because we didn't really think too much about it. We just went and did it. Of course, me and Max, we know each other enough that we could know we could pull it out, but we didn't know how good we could pull that out without time, and that's what we did. So, but it could be a little scary now thinking about it, you know.
How much time is little time?
Well, to do the album, we record all the drums and wrote all the parts in a little over 2 weeks, and after that, all the overdubs and vocals and all that stuff. But to do the massive part of the work of the album, 2 weeks and a half, that was it. Like, we're writing and recording at the same time.
Especially the writing, because how many songs a day did you write then?
A few. Actually, what you hear on the album, it's what we wrote and what we record. So it was completely different than something that we done in the past. It was like, tape was rolling as we were writing. We never had time to go back and redo stuff. We just did it. So
how did a song like
sorry.
Okay, how did a song like Must Kill, for example, which is not like a plain and simple song to write in like a minute or something, but how did you write all those riffs together, etc.? Just the two of you guys, or?
Actually, the two of us with a little help of Mark and also John in the studio. But most of it is like Max had a lot of riffs that he wanted to put out. I had a lot of drum beats that he added some stuff to it. So it was that combination, you know, of riffs. And of course, afterwards, the big trouble was to organize all the mess that we made into a song, you know. So I think that's also a good, you know, credit for Max as a producer to put those together so they could make sense, you know.
But it's also, I think, the experience of being in bands and having worked together, you guys having worked together for years in a row and being in bands for like over 20 years. It's also the experience that really helped out.
It definitely does, because you're old enough that you know that you're there in the studio, not to talk about football, you know. You have to work, so we really focused. So that's I think that was the cool thing about it, is that we were totally focused. We went in, we did the stuff, And then later on, we would go back to the hotel. Me and Max would sit in the swimming pool with the kids, and then we talk about normal things. But once we're in the studio, it was like we have to work. Even though it was fun, because we're playing the music that we love, but it was totally focused, you know. So that's the experience, I think, that counts, you know, at the end.
You guys hadn't been playing for a few years in a row. Did you even talk or think about the way you both developed in the years you didn't play together? Because before I think you went the same direction musically, but also in capacity, etc., etc. But right now, you didn't know what direction the two of you were gone.
It's true, but at the same time, like, we know each other that much that it's like we can read each other really easy. So in the studio, that was something that really helped. It was like stuff that I just looked at Max. We knew it was right. We just kept recording, and sometimes even the other guys, the other two guys, would get a little lost, but we just kept doing it, recording it, and then later they could fix their parts or whatever. But it's something more of a chemistry that we have.
And it's something because before we even heard something of the Cavalera Conspiracy, we thought, well, what happened with other projects over the last years, etc. And I expected something in the direction of Nailbomb, etc. But it's more of the good old riffs of the roots time, etc. But it's also more hardcore influence in a different way than with, for example, Nailbomb.
Yeah, but to be honest with you, I had the idea kind of like a Nailbomb. Me and Max, we talked about it because Nailbomb is very spontaneous, and that's what we wanted to do. So we definitely were influenced by Nailbomb in that sense, not musically, because music today, me and Max, we think very different than we did back in those days. But at the same time, I think the Nailbomb thing is definitely a big influence, where we just went in the studio and did everything very raw and just didn't discuss too much about it. We just went and did it, you know.
Which also brought you a riff-filled album, just as this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's cool because it's like, I think the most important thing on Cavalera Conspiracy, it's very spontaneous, very natural. You know, there's not one thing that I hear in the album that it doesn't feel like me and Max wanted to do. So it's like, I'm really proud of it.
And don't you think that the advantage is the fact that if you just don't talk too much about music, you don't kill great parts of music?
It can be, but then again, we could talk about this, but we just didn't. But like you're saying, you could ruin by saying something that, oh, we should do this, and then try too hard to do it, and then it doesn't become like a natural thing. So it's true that sometimes talking about it, it's not as good as making it, you know.
What's so far your favorite song to play live?
Well, let's say I really love Doom of All Fires. It's my favorite album, like song on the album. And now playing live, I really enjoy it. But of course, like each song, it has their own like different, you know, ways of making them more favorite or less favorite.